Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram. Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Swami, Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Swami, Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Jai Baladev, Subhadramai Jara Sudarshan, Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Swami, Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Jai Baladev, Subhadramai Jaya Sudarshan, Jagannath Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatu, 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 Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Nitai Gaurango, Nitai Gaurango, Gaurahari, Nitai Gaurango, Nitai Gaurango, Gaurahari, Nitai Gaurango, Nitai Gaurango, Gaurahari. Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. Welcome all devotees
Hare
on
Krishna.
this Zoom platform on Srimad Bhagavatam of ISKCON Seshadripuram. So today I have been instructed to speak on 26th chapter 34th sloka of third canto. So we are discussing third canto since long, and now this we are at the 34th sloka of 26th chapter. So shortly we'll start. ॐ ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितमेन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टां स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदामहं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुं श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपां साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तस्य जीवं साद्वैतं सार्वभूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवम् श्री राधा कृष्ण पदम सगण ललिता श्री विशाखावितं तस्य हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्ते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वंशाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेषु अवद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी। Hare Krishna. So I'll just open the shloka. Bhutanam chidadratrutvam vahirantaramev cha pranindriyatmadhishnatvam navaso rutti lakshanam. Translation by word to word translation by Srila Prabhupada. Bhutanam, of all living entity. Chidra datrutvam, the accommodation of the room. Vahi, external, antaram, internal, eva, also, cha, and prana, of the vital air, indriya, the senses, atma, the mind, dishnatvam, being the field of activity, navasa, of the ethereal element, vritti, activities, lakshanam, characteristic. Translation by Silpa. The activities and characteristics of the ethereal element can be observed as a accommodation of room for external and internal existence of all living entities, namely the field of activities of vital air, the senses, and the mind. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The mind, the senses, and the vital force of the living entity have forms, although they are not visible to the naked eye. Form rests in subtle existence in the sky, and internally it is perceived as veins within the body and circulation of the vital air. Externally, there are invisible forms of sense objects. The production of the invisible sense object is the external activity of the ethereal element, and circulation of vital air and blood are its internal activity. That subtle forms exist in the ether as has been proven by modern science by transmission of television, by which forms or photographs of one place are transmitted to another place by action of ethereal element. This is very nicely explained. The verse is potential basis of great scientific research work, for it explains how subtle forms are generated from ethereal element, what their characteristics and actions are, and how the tangible elements, namely air, fire, water, ether, are manifested from the subtle form. Mental activities or psychological actions of thinking, feeling, willing are also activities on the platform of ethereal existence. The statement in Bhagavad Gita that the mental situation at the time of death is the basis of next birth is also corroborated in this verse. Mental existence transforms into tangible form as soon as there is an opportunity due to contamination or development of gross elements from subtle form. Hare Krishna. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimade Jayapataka Swami Niti Namine Namo Acharya Padaya Nitaya Krupa Padayane Gaurakatadamadaya Nagaragramatarini. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishnaprastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Tinamani. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisheshunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarini. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasari Gaur Bhaktarun. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. भूतानां छिद्रद्रातृत्वं बहिरंतरमेव च प्राणेन्द्रियात्मधिष्णुत्वं नभसो वृत्तिलक्षणम्. हरे कृष्ण. So, just to give background, here Kapila Muni, who is the incarnation of Lord Krishna, is explaining the Sankhya philosophy to his mother Devati. Kardama Muni was his father. He took a sannyas and left for the forest, and he told Kapil Dev to take care of her mother. And Kapil Dev's mother, Devati, was expressing her desire to learn more on transcendental subject matters. So, because the incarnation of Lord is Kapil Muni, the purpose is to give Sankhya philosophy. So this is a theistic Sankhya philosophy. This is not atheistic. Atheistic philosophy came later, which is perversion of this philosophy. But theistic philosophy is this Sankhya philosophy. Sankhya means elements, or Sankhya means Sankhya, numbers or elements, elementary knowledge. We say it's elementary knowledge, like in chemistry there are elements at a basic level. So like that here also. So what elements, which elements? So Lord Kapila explaining on the elements of material nature. What are those elements? So that we discussed earlier. But I'll just, so basically there are 24 elements. Of course, he's not discussing only 24 elements, he's discussing the spiritual topic also. What is how to use this 24 element? What is the purpose of this 24 element? What is the purpose of this life? And then he is ultimately taking us to devotion. That is the purpose of Bhava. He is not explaining only 24 elements, but that is very important to understand about 24 elements, so that we understand our position in this universe, purpose of life, and then go back to God by attaining the devotion service. So this is the whole purpose of explaining the material nature, material creation. We explained by various great souls. The very purpose is this only, to explain the purpose of human life, and and then purpose of human life, purpose of material creation. So once you understand purpose of material creation, we will be able to correlate what is the purpose of, where I am. I am part of this material creation. Who am I? What is this material creation? What is the purpose? Correlation between them. Who is the creator? So Lord is the creator. So what is my relation to Lord? What is material creation related? So all those topics are being dealt with. Right. So Sankhya philosophy gets into little bit more details of specific details of Sankhya, elementary, that is material creation. 24 elements. So there are gross elements: earth, water, air, fire, ether. Ether is what today we are going to discuss, one of the gross elements. So, and then 5 working senses, 5 knowledge acquiring senses, and then mind, intelligence, ego. Okay. So, and then of course 5 sense objects: sense of touch, sense, sound, like that. This object of senses to enjoy, those objects are called sense objects, like sense of touch, sense of hearing, that is sound, sense of taste, like that. But all those things. So forms. So these are the sense objects which are around us. We have our senses. We enjoy those sense objects with our senses. That's interaction between living entity and the material nature. And of course, we have our mind, intelligence, ego. Mind we know. So entity is one of the entity. It's like a machine, software. Okay, to put it in a very simple language, it's a software, which is nothing but the impressions of our past life. So many impressions we have been experiencing, so many things. So thinking, willing, feeling is the functions of mind. We keep thinking. We keep desiring. That is willing. thinking, willing, feeling. We keep feeling bad, good, morose, all sort of feelings comes. So all those impressions, whatever we go through, are stored in our mental software. That's called software, and that software keeps running on the background. And that's what we call as a mind. It's a software. Of course, we are only owner of that software, but then it's not necessarily that it works completely under our control. It works under the superior nature. But of course, we are the user, okay, like that, and we are only responsible for whatever good and bad is there in the mind. It's very complicated interaction. Okay, but ultimate control is Lord. That's what we need to understand at the end of the day. And we are partial control. We are not a fully control. So mind intelligence means analytical abilities, how to think rationally, because it controls mind. Mind thinks rationally, mind thinks irrationally, mind thinks randomly. Our mind has got its own logic, right or wrong, that's fine, but it's there. But intelligence is supposed to control the mind, giving the right direction. But sometimes intelligence also gets bewildered. That's a different thing. But then intelligence is basically the knowledge. Knowledge, right type of knowledge is called intelligence. Okay. And analytical abilities to distinguish right from wrong, like that. Ego. So ego is the first element actually. It starts, material nature starts with. So material nature is there. We saw that. Mahatattva is a manifested form of material nature. Mahatattva is containing these 24 elements. Mind, intelligence, ego, and then the perverted consciousness. All those 24 elements comes from that whole bunch of pack of 24 elements comes as a Mahatattva, which is a little bit advanced stage of the manifested form. But before that is a Pradhana, which is an unmanifested form. And then Pradhana also comes from Brahman. And Brahman and everything, but ultimately it's come from Lord Vishnu. And this is the material nature, and material nature is part of the overall universe where 1/4 is only material nature. It's like a cloud in the sky, and the external material nature is the internal potency of Lord. That is the spiritual nature. There everything is spiritual, no material, no 24 elements there. It's all made of soul there. So this is what the arrangement is, and we are in material world. Material world keep getting created, keep getting maintained and destroyed. Creation, maintenance, destroy it. This happens by the will of Lord. Although Lord Brahma is in charge of that particular universe as an engineer, he is a secondary controller. Primary control is Lord, and then Lord actually primary control means he expands himself in Mahavishnu, Garbhodakshaya, Visharodakshaya Vishnu. Like that, that's the whole material nature. So now 24 elements are being explained by Lord Kapila to devotee. And out of that, ether is getting explained in this shloka. So ether means earth, water, air, fire, ether. Ether means we know ether is science background. Ether actually they write ether port. Ether port they write in internet. Or we know ether. It's a space. Ether means basically it's a space around us. Around us is air also is there, but air is filling that space, but actually it's a space from where space comes. So scientists always discuss that. So there is a space, and through this space only the lot of communications are happening, lot of transfer of waves is happening, light, sound, many things are there. So material creation, when it is created, the first ego comes, false ego comes, and false ego comes into living entity. Then 3 modes of material nature comes. Okay, I'll just explain in this process. Because this shloka, to explain this shloka, I need to get into this detail also. So first material nature, Mahatattva comes, 24 elements comes, and then false ego comes. False ego comes, 3 modes of material nature comes. All this comes from Lord. And 3 modes of material activates this material nature. We say, no, activate some chemical entity, or activate this, some whatever you call it, activate the counter. So basically it activates, starts excited, it gets excited or activated. And so material nature is there, material elements are there. False ego first interacts with intelligence. False ego interacts with mode of goodness. So 3 modes and false ego, they interact with, and then the intelligence, the mind comes. So mind is formed by this interaction. It's just interaction process. We cannot get into much detail because we will not understand that. but it is sufficient to know they interact and how mind is created. Mind is created from interaction of false ego and the mode of passion. Similarly, mode of goodness and false ego gives us intelligence or working senses. And when mode of ignorance and false ego, they interacts, it starts giving the senses. So gross senses, so working senses, okay, knowledge acquiring senses, and this, and then further creation like Panchamavata, this starts. Okay, so in this verse we are talking about ether. Ether is nothing but the space. So it is a transitional stage between gross nature and the subtle nature, right? So ether is exactly not a very gross form. So air, water, ether, fire. So these are all very gross. We can see them. Fire, okay, air. We can feel that air, right? But the ether we can't see really. You can perceive little bit, but you can have imagination, space. We have, but you can't actually see in real sense. It's little bit subtle. So it is gross. And subtle means mind, intelligence, ego. These are really subtle. Can you see the mind? No. Can you see the intelligence? No. You can only perceive it. Right? So these are the subtle sukshma, subtle elements. And there are gross elements. And between these two border, the gross element, subtlest form of gross element is ether, which is a transition. So basically ether is a transition phase between these gross elements and the subtle element, and that becomes it's like a canvas. It remains a canvas between these two transition. So if you see the material nature creation starts with subtle to gross. So first subtle element comes, false ego comes, modes of material nature comes, mind comes, intelligence comes, then gross elements comes. Similarly, when material nature get destroyed, gross elements get merged into subtle. That's the whole, it shifts. So this is the way it works. So ether is very important concept. So what is ether? So ether, as I told you, it's a space. So where is the space? Space is around us, space is inside our body, right? So Prabhupada explains, so I'll just read that. Prabhupada explains here, saying that the mind, senses, and vital force, living entity have forms, although they are not visible to naked eye. Form rests in the subtle existence in the sky and internally is perceived veins as a body in the body and circulation of vital air. So what Prabhupada is writing here is, internally we perceive the space because in our body there is a space. Of course, that's a vital air. Okay, there are various types of airs. I don't know, 7 or 8. Airs are there. So our whole soul is suspended on the fine balance on the air, various, prana, apana, udana, like that. There are 5 or 6 airs, and they are actually in that airs. Our soul is suspended very delicately. So if you balance those air movement, then we feel happy. Happy in the sense that bodily platform or mental platform, because it's very important. Okay, so this space can be perceived as a veins within our body, blood circulation within our body, and the vital air. So you can perceive that. While externally we can see the same object. Externally there are invisible forms of sense objects. So around us there are so many. You can't see that, but you can feel them, like sense of touch, sound. So sound is another element. Sound also. So after this gross element, sounds comes. So like that. So this sound also we can feel. Okay. And we know in modern science or physics, basically, in the physics, they say ki transmission of sound waves, transmission of light waves, transmission of electromagnetic waves, transmission of this wave. So many theories are there. So if you see the modern science, they are also trying to explain space. They use the concept of space, ether, space means ether. They are using the concept of ether. They say that it is a medium for transportation of various waves, and that's what we can see. There are so many waves around us: mobile waves, this wave, that wave, electromagnetic wave, sound wave, light wave. Everything is around us now. You can see, but you can't see that. You can understand theoretically, but you can't see them, but you can perceive them. So Prabhupada gives beautiful example here. Okay, what is mentioning? This is a topic of research for modern science, Prabhupada is saying. So what Prabhupada mean here is, please give example, ki the way you see the TV. So how you see the TV? On the TV, you are seeing a lot of pictures, videos. People are moving here and there. They are conversing with each other. They are talking. So all sound and the images, which is basically the light or whatever, they are transported. How they are transported? Because somewhere else it is getting played, but you are seeing in your, so they are transported through the wave, Wi-Fi waves or whatever you call. There are waves. So these all those signals are converted into some wave, electromagnetic waves or whatever you call signals, and data. We say digital, but ultimately it's all getting transported to the ether. That is our external atmosphere, and they get caught into the machine this side in the capacitors and all that receivers, and then they again they digitalize it, and then they amplify it and they show it to us. So waves are getting transferred. So images are getting, means the understanding here is, so what you are talking about is basically shape. So Prabhupada writes, ether has got shape. So what is ether? Ether is a medium by which we can communicate between subtle nature and the gross nature. So we know there is a subtle element, mind, intelligence, ego, your imagination. Suppose you are sleeping in the night. So who is interacting in night? Your mind, intelligence, ego, that is subtle body, and you, Atma, both are interacting. Gross body is at rest. In the daytime, everything is interaction. Gross body, subtle body, everything is. Okay. So the interaction is there between subtle nature and the gross nature. And that the transition and the ether is at the transition point of those. Ether facilitates this interaction. See, for example, the radio stations or TV center, they are playing something and you are able to see here. So the facilitation is happening through that space in physics. But thing is, modern science doesn't distinguish between those elements. They don't say 24 gross element, mind, no. They say everything is only one. That's all, atoms and neurons, atom and see, that is okay for chemistry. But that's not, but we say material science is not wrong, but we say it's imperfect. So because that doesn't explain everything. But Vedic science, they talk about 24 elements, they are distinct elements. They don't say mind and intelligence is same. They don't say air and water is same. No. But science says everything is same only. Ultimately, it's all atoms, H and O and air and all that. But then problem is material science, modern science is not able to explain the mind perfectly. They say mind also is nothing but just interaction of some neurons. But they are not able to explain it perfectly, what exactly it means. Okay, and how it is activated, how it is, because see, if you add some two chemicals, they react in particular, that is predictable. But can you predict mind? So how come then? So science, modern science, what modern science will do? So modern science will basically put some hypothesis. They'll put some law. They will put means they will observe some law which is there in the nature. Then they'll theorize. They'll put some equations. Then they'll derivatize, integrate, and put some constants. And as it goes, they'll keep defining those constants, and variables. That is the way modern science is trying to explain everything. Quantum mechanics, all those physical sciences, they try to explain the phenomena, they try to put something in equation, they try to model it out and keep increasing constant. Then some other scientists go, oh, no, you are missing this constant, this is not getting explained. Then he'll put another constant in the same equation, additional, and then they will further explain that constant. Then one person will come after 30 years, say, wait, this is not complete, one more constant. So this is where modern science goes, which is speculative. But Vedic science doesn't talk about constants and all that. It goes by the authority, okay? Because whole science is coming from Lord himself, who is the creator. So we go by the, what we go? We go by the Shabda Praman. We go by the Vedas. So Vedas say 24 elements, means there are 24 elements. They are different. Of course, they are interactive. Everything comes from Lord only. So that way they are one. As a whole, whole package is nothing but material nature, Prakruti. That's fine, but the functionality of those elements are completely much more different. They are not just one thing. Because in modern science, they try to explain function of mind by some one theory only, neurons, and they say different variations are coming and they are behaving different way. But the whole objective was that they are not able to explain why it is not predictable then. Why one person behaves different way than other person, or when same person behaves different way in same different situation, or in the same situation in different way they behave. So this is all unexplainable. But modern science say, the Vedic science say it's the mind. So very complicated. We'll not get into detail. But thing is that what we need to understand is the ether has got shape. Ether is a storehouse of shapes in a very subtle form. Okay. So there are various shapes already there. So for example, the signal which you are receiving, your TV is receiving, that signal is like ether. Signal and the ether space is like a overall ether. So it's already there, everything is there. You are not able to see that shape, but when it comes in your TV and they get projected, you see it manifested. You can see, oh, it's manifested. Images are seen. But what you are coming in that signal and through the space is already shapes are there. We are not able to see that shape. They will be manifested in some particular situation. Similarly, our life is like that. We are having all mind, intelligence. They are having all the impressions. They are like there are a lot of forms. There are a lot of feelings. They are there. But the ether element will allow you to express it in terms of gross element. You will be able to taste water. You will be able to taste water. You will be able to taste some good sweet dish. Because sense object is there. That is subtle form. That is in space. That is outside you. Okay. Inside you is a tongue. Okay. That is sense is there. So they come in touch with each other and that is facilitated. The testing is facilitated. But all that happens due to space around us. In that space, there is a complete storehouse of all these, sense objects, shapes and all that. While in mind, all desires are there. And they interact. Hundreds of combination, crores of combination possible, and it goes on. So this is your material. So every element has got very unique purpose. So like that, this is explained. So Prabhupada quotes here. So for example, I just read. The subtle form exists in the ether has been proven by modern science by transmission of television. This we discussed. By which the forms and photographs of one place are transmitted to another place by action of ethereal element. In fact, internet and Wi-Fi and all those, they are same category. Everything is same. Basically, it's the ether element which transports the whole thing. That is nicely explained here. This verse is potential base of great scientific research work. For it explains how subtle forms are generated from ethereal element, what their characteristics and actions are, and how the tangible elements, namely gross elements, are manifested from the subtle form. Then Prabhupada is writing here, mental activities or psychological actions of thinking, willing, feeling are also activities on the platform of ethereal existence. So Prabhupada is saying our mental activities, thinking, willing, feeling, are facilitated due to ether, means space. How? Because internal there is a space. In that space, this soul is suspended with the help of air. And we know it. There is the existence of various types of airs, various types of vayu, this thing. And outside there is a space. There is a space in the mouth, there is that throughout our body. And when soul is suspended, and when soul leaves the body, it leaves from the top or it leaves from the bottom, depending on the person's karma. So all that, and then due to this delicate balance of various airs and all that, we are able to sense, we are able to touch, feel the touch, we are able to feel the sound. It is due to that delicate balance of air and various elements, 4 or 5 elements, and ether. Okay, so Prabhupada writes here, they are all facilitated by, so all that is storehouse. So ether is nothing but the storehouse of all that shapes or some proper programs which we want to execute or experience through our senses, gross senses, and their interaction. Very complicated topic. It's a challenge for modern scientists to understand this ether. They refer it ether, they put equation, but how it comes, why it comes, how it 100% function, they don't know. We only put some empirical equations and go by that, but it's not it's not perfect. It definitely it gives some idea, but these are empirical. That's why you say empirical. You see, who are all scientists here or technology background or science background, we put empirical constant n, empirical constant theta, empirical constant zeta, like that. So these are all empirical. They only say it's empirical. Empirical means what? We don't have concrete proof of that, but it is correlation, some correlation. Empirical. It's not 100% proven. It's not first principle, it's empirical. First principle means first principle. That's a different thing. Gravity is a first principle, but if you put gravitational equation, it's a empirical. That is what I'm saying. Okay. So anyway, this is all very different topic. We don't want to get into that now. The whole matter here is basically Lord Kapila is explaining the functionality of ether, how important it is and how it behaves. And earlier, Shloka is talking about sound. Sound comes before ether. So mind, intelligence, ego comes as a subtle element first in the creation. Then sounds get, and after sound, ether comes, and after ether, remaining gross elements, sense objects comes. This way it gets created. Okay, so this is the way it goes on. Now Prabhupada writes at the end. We'll read that. That's very important. What is writing? The statement in Bhagavad Gita that the mental situation at the time of death is the basis of next birth is also corroborated in the verse. Mental existence transforms into tangible form as soon as there is an opportunity due to contamination or development of the gross element from subtle form. Very important. So the transmigration of the soul is getting explained here from body to body. Transmigration of the soul is getting explained from body to body. So when we die, what happens to us? Our gross body gets destroyed. But what happens to us? The soul remains, of course. Soul has to go to other body. How it goes? It is carried away by the subtle body, which is mind, intelligence, ego together with the subtle body. And this subtle body carries the soul to the next body. So this is a transmigration, like a TV signal. From one place is getting transported to other place. At one place it is manifested. Then it gets converted to some signal, comes to the other place, and it gets again manifested at the other place, like TV. Actors are playing drama in some auditorium, and that is getting watched in the other location through this. So what carries those images, photograph? The ether element at the subtle form. So this is what it's explained. Similar analogy is there. Our gross body is there, but our subtle body is also there. The subtle body doesn't get destroyed. And it gets carried away from our body when we die to the other body which is suitable. So which body, why that other body only, why? That is all well managed by the Prakriti based on your karma. So our next body is fixed based on our karma. Of course, it means today it may not be fixed, but when you are about to die, that time based on some total karma, next body will be fixed. Because there is a variable. Karma is a variable. We can always change our karma and change our destiny, change our body. And that's the whole purpose. You should change your karma in such a way that we get transported to better life. Better life means our target, our goal should be to go into Vaikuntha planets, spiritual planets with Lord Krishna. That is the final destination. That's the best destination. And otherwise, people have got various other desires. Okay, the people who have got a lot of enjoyment desires, but they are in mode of goodness and they are good karmas are, then they'll get into heavenly planets. People who have got very bad, very bad desires, they may get into earthly planets or hellish planets, like that. Okay, so body is destined. We are going to have next body. That is all destiny will decide. That's how Prakriti will decide. Okay, based on our karmas. But the process is facilitated by your subtle body, which is nothing but mind, intelligence. Mind is the main thing. Mind actually is a storehouse of all your impressions, which we have got in this life and earlier crores of lives. And that keep recording. And then when soul leaves the body, when we die, that subtle body has program that will find out perfectly, and it will get to the other body where you can have that similar desire getting fulfilled. So if somebody addicted too much to the non-veg eating, then he'll get into tiger's body. So that is there. And it happens very soon. And why not? It will happen. The way TV signals are caught, and you get exactly the same, the TV who has got subscription of that particular channel only will get it. Correct? Because this is all well coded and decoded. Like that here also. The whatever you have software, that will perfectly find the destination, and you will go and play there. So the other body starts, and there your subtle element gets into that body. You also gets along with subtle elements, because we are attached to subtle elements. Because we are attached to mind, intelligence, and ego, we follow that. Mind, intelligence, ego. And mind, intelligence, ego follows the other body which is suitable for that. So it's all very delicate process. So we go there. And then there we start manifesting all this again in the snake body. What manifestation? Same Indriya. Okay, sense enjoyment, touching, hearing, walking, all that karmas, all those starts there also. We did there, but there are varieties. But there are varieties at a very apparent stage, a very limited variety. But basic is all sense enjoyment and ahara bhaya nidra. That's the characteristic of material. There's nothing go beyond that. But when the soul changes its subtle body, by changing the subtle body, by changing the consciousness, the subtle body also changes. So if you are changing the consciousness to Krishna consciousness, subtle body gets burnt and it gets into the transcendental subtle body. So there is a material subtle body, there is a transcendental. Material subtle body is currently we have mind, it's a contaminated stage. But because our consciousness is contaminated, we are covering that ourselves with that subtle body, which is also contaminated. Once you start changing the consciousness pure, the subtle body also become pure. And then at the time of death, if you are pure, it will go to the spiritual planet. That is the way. Subtle body doesn't die, it remains there, but it gets purified. Okay. So then it comes to our natural state. So this is how it is. Okay. So subtle body again gets there. So whole purpose here is basically why we should understand Sankhya philosophy. Because we should know, see, this always better to have knowledge. Without knowledge also we can do devotion, no doubt about it. We can only chant and have devotion because it's more of a feeling. Absolutely. No problem. Okay, and that will be benefits. You will be benefited. Definitely. If you just chant and don't get into this philosophy, no problem. No problem. But then, the base remains very weak in absence of knowledge. If devotion is not supported by knowledge, base remains weak. Because we are not at that level where highest acharya level parmate, of course they are knowledgeable, obviously. They give knowledge, means they are knowledgeable. But they don't have to really worry about knowledge on day-to-day basis. They are already knowledgeable. But for us, we have to, it's a sadhana bhakti. So sadhana bhakti, of course, we have to do our regular daily sadhana, but then we supported by knowledge. Okay, it will be helpful because then we'll get fixed by we'll get more convinced, we'll get fixed, faith will increase in the devotion service by knowing this knowledge. So that's the whole purpose of, that's why whole process of creation is getting explained in Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam is essentially bhakti. Bhagavatam is only devotion. No other karma kanda, no jnana kanda, no upasana kanda. Bhagavatam is only devotion, bhakti. But then still it gives knowledge. Why? Because that is to make us get convinced more and more about our position, Lord's position, what is the relation. And we get more and more faith by knowledge. And the basis remains same. Otherwise, Maya may smash us, and then if we don't have very fixed in the knowledge, we may leave the bhakti suddenly on some point. That happens. Fall down may happen. So if there is a knowledge and of course devotion, with only knowledge is a problem. Prabhupada say only knowledge is a mental speculation. That's correct. But if our knowledge is in such a way that it increases our faith in bhakti or Lord and his disciples, Lord's gurus, then we are in progressive path, and we get fixed up in that, and our bhakti devotion becomes strong. That's the whole purpose. That's why this material nature of, material nature creation knowledge is given in various Vedas and Bhagavatam. Vedas are not only bhakti, Vedas are having everything. Bhakti, Upasana, Karma Kanda, this, that. It's all mixture. But Bhagavatam is focusing on only bhakti because that's the ultimate aim. So it's the ultimate aim. That's the ripened fruit of Vedas. Ripened fruit means essence, sweet and essence is there in the fruit. So that's why. But there also a lot of knowledge is being spoken. Why? To make us understand to that extent that we get more fixed up in it. That's the whole process, right? So this is how it is. So I'll stop here. I think this is what I wanted to share. A very important shloka, but a lot of technical. It's more of a technical shloka. But then ultimately you have to understand what is the purpose behind putting all these technicalities by Lord Kapila in form of Sankhya. Hare Krishna. So any comments, questions we can discuss. I just noticed now Uttam Damodar Prabhuji. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Prabhuji also. So maybe
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Sorry,
Prabhuji, if you have got some corrections, additional suggestions, please.
No corrections. I think it is a very technical subject, and I think you put it very nicely. And it's very difficult to understand, but you put it very simply, which is very nice. Thank you so much for giving us this, interpretation and understanding of ether. Ether is very difficult to understand. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. So any questions further, any comments, doubts?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, very excellent.
Prabhuji, can you be a little bit louder? I am not able to.
Yeah. Can you hear me now, Prabhu?
It's okay now.
Yeah. Prabhu, like as it was explained, like at the time of death, what he thinks, he gets the body accordingly. So I just want to know, like, if someone thinks of Krishna at the time of death, will all the karmic what the karmas will all materialize? How exactly do you know this, Prabhuji?
Okay, Prabhuji, just a minute. I have got difficulty in the hearing you. I'm just putting the earphones. Hold on. But I got your question. Just give me 2 minutes. Yeah, Prabhuji. So if I got your karmas when you leave the body, correct, Prabhuji? Can you just repeat that? Sorry for that.
No, Prabhuji. Yes, very much right, Prabhuji. Like at the time of death, one thinks of something, we get body accordingly. So if somebody thinks of Krishna, so what happens to the karmic reactions, karmas, whatever it is like?
Yeah. Okay, got it, Prabhu. So Prabhuji is like this. Karma is, what is karma? Technical means is activity. Okay. So if our activities are such that we are Krishna conscious activities, if your activities are such that we are doing all service to Krishna, our activities are devoted to Krishna, or to the relation to Krishna, okay, that is also karma, but that's the transcendental part, and we get into Krishna consciousness, and at the time of death we get a body which is Krishna consciousness fully in the spiritual planet, correct? Now if our karmas are such that we are completely material consciousness. What is material consciousness? Material consciousness means basically divide of Krishna consciousness. Divide of Krishna means if our activities are focusing towards only our own satisfaction of senses and our own, world, that is material. Means if there is no Krishna in our activities, in whatever way, contextually or in relation, or if we are not at all connected to Krishna through Guru, through Parampara, or to worship, or or we are not offering our fruits, by any means we are not connected to Krishna, then that's a material material consciousness. And that takes us to the other body, depending on your account balance of karma, good and bad karma, you get that material body and it continues. So the karma per se doesn't continue in the next body per se, but the impressions of the karma. So, it's a decoding, it's coding and decoding, Prabhu. So karma means what? Karma means karma is just activity, but what is the force behind karma? The motive behind karma is the desire. So essentially, it's the desires which gets carried further. Okay. So I hope you understand, Prabhuji. I don't know whether I'm clear. So it's the desires. Desire means nothing but all subtle impressions of our, these desires are ultimately get manifested in the form of karma. And that karma gives us more desires, that gives us more feeling, that gives us more willing, and then we desire more, and it gets coded into all that. It's like a computer chip. No, you put pen drive and then you start playing something, right? So it's all coded. It's only get decoded once you have got another body or a gross machine, right? So like that, those karmas are ultimately going to get coded, means their desires are getting coded, and they get decoded in the next body. In the same body also decoded, because suppose I have a desire in my childhood that I should become some engineer. So I studied, and then that activity is becoming desire is becoming activity. I mean, it's all going on, and then I will build more desire. It's not only engineer, then I had to become some company, this thing also. So all that desire keeps coming, and you keep doing activities, and it's getting decoded in the same body as I grow, and then at the end of this body, those will be continued further. So there's not much different. Death is nothing but just transformation, transfer of the one particular software to the other computer. Because for earlier computer get damaged, so that software is transferred to another and continues. Another. This is simple definition of death, in technical language, right? So this is the way it is, Prabhu. So I hope I could answer, or if you have got still doubt, you can explain me, Prabhu.
It's very well explained, Prabhuji. And just I want to know, like, yes, the karmic reactions, whatever it is, that will be nullified, Prabhuji, once we think of Krishna. That whatever the karmic, maybe we have done so much of sins. So when we think of Krishna at the time of death, so all the karmic reactions will be nullified.
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu. If you think of Krishna at the time of death purely, all the karmic reaction will be nullified. Lord Krishna gives that assurance in Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Dharmam Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Vraja Aham Tam Sarva Papebhya Mokshayashami Masucha. Lord Krishna is saying, if you Sarva Dharmam Parityajya Mamekam Sharan. Sharanam means thinking about Krishna. At the time of death, if you are surrendered to Krishna throughout your life, you are bound to have smaran, or you are bound to remember about Krishna at the time of death. So going by that sloka, Krishna is assuring, if you do that, I will take care of all your papabhyo, means all your karmic reactions will be taken care. But of course, it needs total life sadhana to allow ourselves, to make ourselves remember Krishna at the time of death. It is not as easy as we may be thinking, because it needs throughout life preparation. It's like an exam. Prabhupada mentioned many places. It's an exam. What is the final exam of the life? At the time of death, if you are able to remember Krishna, you are done. You are through. But that needs preparation. That's why whole sadhana bhakti, whole guru parampara, all those gurus, our Lord Himself through His scriptures is preparing for that exam, preparing us for that exam, so that we remember Krishna. And we cannot remember Krishna ad hoc. It needs perfect preparation, means purification of our existence, means changing our material consciousness to Krishna consciousness. That involves a lot of rules and regulations, taking shelter at Guru's feet, taking shelter of Krishna, reading the scripture, following sadhana bhakti. It's a purification process. Then only you'll be able to remember Krishna at the time of death. So it's all linked. Everything is very logical, and there is no contradiction here. But yes, all your karmic reactions will be nullified if you remember Krishna at the time of death. But that will happen only if we start doing it now with the utmost sincerity. Now, if we are having mixed Krishna material consciousness, it will be taken in that way. Still, it is not a, Krishna assures that, okay, then we may take some more births to completely purify. But it's still okay. Something better than nothing. So we should not worry too much about, what will happen, whether it will happen in life. Just surrender yourself to Guru and have faith in Guru Parampara and Krishna. and put your efforts. That rest is taken care. It's a perfect science. It doesn't go wrong like our material science sometimes goes wrong. Okay, so that's all, Prabhu. Yes, but you're that.
Yeah.
I hope.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu. Thanks a lot. Very nicely said, Prabhu. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Prabhu.
Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, like moreover, like as you were explaining, like the signals, radio signals and the TV signals, like how they carry, we are not able to see. Similarly, our prayers are carried to Krishna, isn't it, Prabhu?
Yes, of course, Prabhu. Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
And they are not just material signals. Prayers are transcendental signals. I mean, there is a difference, but then see, Prabhuji, when we give some example, material life example to understand spiritual principle, it is only analogy. Okay, we should not take it per se, because the prayers are, of course, they are signals only, but they are not actually, they are much more higher transcendental signals. But yes, we understand the phenomena. Okay, so they are only analogy. Okay, so just word of caution, because sometimes we take example as such and try to analyze. No, it's only example is given. Examples are given to understand the truth. Truth comes first. Examples are given to understand the truth. It's not that by analyzing that example, further will be able to understand truth. No, not that way. But then, yes, you are right. You are right. Essentially, it's understanding is right. It's like a signal. Prayers are also like signal. They reaches to Lord, definitely. And Lord is there in Vaikuntha. Lord is there everywhere. Lord is there in Atem, and Lord is in our body also in form of Paramatma. So he listens. He's there. He's very close to us. Only thing we have to connect.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thanks a lot. Hare Krishna. Dandapada. Jai.
Dandapada. Hare Krishna. Okay, any further questions, Prabhuji? Otherwise, we can close. Okay, Prabhuji. Thanks for your time. And I hope I could explain whatever I understood. And of course, Prabhuji was there. Prabhuji was there to guide. I was now comfortable. So thanks for your time, Prabhujis and Matajis. We'll close the session now. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Bhagavatam ki jai. Jai Sri Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.